What's up, Rip City? This is Jabari Walker, and you're listening to the Blazers Balcony with Brooke Olzendam and Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to the Blazers Balcony, episode 115 of the Blazers Balcony. I am Casey Holdahl. I am joined by my friend and coworker Brooke Olzendam in Southwest Portland, wearing her Brooke Hearts Your Heart hat. It's Heart Month, Brooke Month. Brooke Olzendam, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's coming to an end. We're wrapping it up, but it's been such an amazing experience, as it always is every February. So it's, again, thank you to everyone, and it's just been so fun. I got to give this. I get choked up there when we had RCU Night or RCU Day a couple days ago, where it's for RCU Night season ticket members, and they come down. It's a really cool event. You get to really get up close and personal with the players. You watch them do some fun games, and it's interactive. A lot of players or fans come down to do things with the players, games and stuff. And then you go up to the upper level, and it's really interactive, where there are games you play right alongside that. Anyways, it's a really cool event. Everyone loves it. And I was there. This little girl named Amilia, who last year also did the same thing. She saved money and did little chores around the house to make money to donate, and she's so cute. And so she came last year to the set and brought a Ziploc bag of quarters and nickels and stuff. And her mom's she's been doing things and saving up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot. And so this year they were at the RCU event, and she came up and I had and her mom and I talked on Instagram, and she was like, Amelia's already on her on her chore tasks. She's doing everything to get to raise money and donate. I'm like, that's amazing. So she came up and she had saved enough that she cashed in the change for a $5 bill. So she came and gave it to me, and I was like, you're amazing, girl. And it was just the coolest thing. And so I bought a couple of these hats. The reason you made me think of it, I bought a couple of these hats. Well, I bought a lot of these hats for friends and family and people that are out of town and stuff. And so I got a couple yesterday, and she came up to the set. I told her, I go, come up to the set tomorrow and see me. And she came up, and I gave her a hat, and I was so excited to give it to her. But then I was like, oh shoot, she's got a little sister. I forgot about that. And so it's I'm so sorry, but she donated. You didn't. They said it's like a 5-year-old. I didn't mean it like that, but the whole thing, when it's one a kid's birthday, and so some people give all the kids a little something so they don't feel left out. I felt terrible. Her little sister is darling, and I was like, and I only had the one hat. So anyways, I gave it to her, and she was very excited. And her mom said that she worked really hard this month to do that. I'm like, gosh, how does an 8-year-old think of that? It's amazing. So even kids have been donating, and it's just been wonderful. It's been a great month. I get a little sad when it ends because of all the interactions we have. I get to have with fans and stuff about how this has affected them. I mean, we still do it throughout the year, but February is obviously, I think, the main focus. So.
Well, that's great, Brooke. Two things there. One, that's a good lesson for the sister there to know that life is not fair. So just because something good happened to somebody else does not mean something good's going to happen to you. That was the my mom's standard response to those things when I was a kid was always, well, life is not fair, so deal with it. And
what if I said that to her? What if I looked at the little 5-year-old? I was like, well, sorry, life's not fair.
I'm going to clue you in on something here, kid. Life is unfair and cruel, and then you die. So you don't need a hat.
You should know this now.
Yeah. And the other thing that I will mention there is that I do quite a bit of shopping. I like to buy clothes. I like to buy sneakers. I like to buy stuff. I basically never pay full price for anything. I literally couldn't tell you the last time I paid full price for a garment, pair of sneakers. Sneakers I never paid full price for. I paid full price for the Brooke Hearts Your Heart hat at the arena. I don't know if we're supposed to get our employee discounts on that, but I purposefully did not ask for it just in case we were supposed to, because I wanted to make sure that all the money was going back into the kitty for the Brooke Hearts Your Heart campaign.
Thank you. That's so funny. You're the 10th person to say that exact same thing. They're like, I didn't even ask. I didn't even pull out my badge. And my mom, when she comes to games, she'll get my pass, and she's going to buy stuff around Christmas time. She obviously, I give her my pass so she can get the discount. And she's like, I didn't even ask for it. And she bought a lot. And other fellow employees and our friends are like, yeah, I didn't. It's just the same thing. Everyone's like, it's just your conscience hits you, and you're like, I don't think I'm supposed to ask for the discount for this. I probably shouldn't. And so I didn't either. So I paid full price also, and I bought 20 of them. So actually, that's so funny. As I say that, I just realized I have.
Yeah, you've got the tab still on there. Yeah, I noticed that.
The little thing, guys, where the hat hangs. It's still in my hat. And there we go, got it out. I did this the other day with another hat. So this is not even the one I wore the other day. I'm rotating the same hat, but I get makeup on it. So I like to go grab a new one, even though no one can see it. It's on the inside, but it's a white hat. So, you know, it comes with the territory, but I wore that thing all day. I went on Coin TV. I did all the things. I got home and that tag had been sticking out of the top the entire day. Live TV. No one told me. It's just this little thing sticking right out on top where you could go hanging on a hanger. Oh my gosh. It is hailing right now. It's so hard over here in Southwest Portland.
Yeah, I saw some snow stuff, which like I don't think people are. You gotta come on, Mother Nature. Like these folks are still hurting from the last time.
Yeah, literally, I'm still hurting from the last time physically. Yeah, it's coming down big time. I did hear snow is coming, which is just mean after the weather we've had the last 3 days. But yeah, it's nasty out there, guys. I don't know if it's hailing in your neck of the woods, as Al Roker would say, but it is coming down big time in Southwest Portland. This is crazy. This weather. It's so funny. I took all my dad took all the tarps off my outdoor furniture because of these amazing 2 lovely days we had. And then I looked at the weather, I was like, well, and then we'll go put it back on in 2 days.
I cannot believe that as dyed-in-the-wool Northwesterners, yeah, we're in the Northwest, that you guys would be fooled by the February 3 days of sun, Brooke. Like, you guys have to know what that is. Like,
it was
that is the nice little sprinkling of sunlight before it's going to rain again for another 2 months. You know that, Brooke. You know that.
I did say my dad did it, okay? My dad did it.
But your dad is a smart man, and he is also from the Northwest. He has to know that you cannot get fooled by the February, like, oh man, it's like 55 degrees and sunny, which feels like it's like 75 degrees any other time. And then you really start thinking like, oh yeah, well, we gotta start getting the plants ready. And no. I know. It's nature's cruel way of reminding you that we still have a ways to go before this is going to let up. And what it does is it does exactly what it's doing right now, is it goes from sun to snow and hail, because when it's clear, it obviously gets colder, so on and so forth. You got to know. And Grant, you're Washingtonians, so I give you a little more leeway, or Oregonians know.
I'm not saying we didn't know. I just think like we wanted to just pretend a little while. Like, you know, Theo and I actually played soccer the other night. Which we haven't been able to, obviously, because of the weather. And it's just, it's been muddy and gross because of the snow and the rain and all that. But then it just hasn't been very warm out. So we jumped at the chance. We played soccer. It was so much fun. It just reminded me of like what it's like when it's like that. So I think we just wanted to, again, just kind of fool ourselves and pretend for a little bit. And now I'm looking outside, and you're right. I'm a fool. It's coming down so hard. Dad, are you seeing this?
And you know what, Brooke, that's a good point too, is that you should, why deprive yourself of optimism? Do you know that you're probably not going to get any additional sun for the next 2 months? Probably in your heart of hearts, you probably did know that, but you're right. You're trying to engage in good things happening in your life, and that is not something that you should feel bad about. So that's a good point, Brooke. And that brings us to our Portland Trailblazers as well, who having a rough go of it as of late, have lost 8 straight, have yet to win a game in the month of February, with just 1 game remaining, of course, versus the Miami Heat, which should be an interesting game. But the Blazers coming off a pretty tough loss, a tough one to watch, losing to the Hornets on Sunday night, 93-80. The Blazers going 3 of 32 from the 3-point line, and 2 of those 3 came late in the fourth quarter. Chauncey Billups had even mentioned that he probably was not going to be watching the tape of that game, which we would like to do as well. But here on the Blazers balcony, we know we have to deliver the content to you regardless. So even though, as I mentioned, 8 straight losses, lots of injuries, teams struggling both on the offensive and defensive end on kind of a night to semi-night basis, it's been tough go of it for the Trailblazers in February. They had an extended homestand. That homestand ends when they play the Miami Heat on Tuesday. Then they go out for 3 games, then come back actually to play more home games, wherein you would hope they'd have a little more success than they had in this current homestand, which, again, as I mentioned, not only have they not won any games on this homestand, they haven't won any games in this month. So pretty tough go of it right now. I think the last game they won was the January 31st game versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And since then, the Blazers have lost to the Nuggets 3 times, the Timberwolves twice, to the Pistons in overtime, and to the Pelicans and the Hornets. And both of those games they lost to the Pelicans and the Hornets. They did not get past the 90-point mark. As I mentioned, guys, in and out of the lineup. You got Scoot Henderson, who's out now with an adductor injury. Chauncey Billups had mentioned that he had an MRI and that it was generally positive. Not the results weren't positive. It was a good MRI. It's always weird when you're talking about test results and you have to say positive and negative because that can be things depending on the context. But he also had mentioned that he wasn't doing anything on the court right now. Team not having immediate availability on Monday, so we're not entirely sure if he's going to be able to go on Tuesday, but we will get that injury report later on this afternoon. Malcolm Brogdon, Chauncey Billups had mentioned that no update on him yet. We should be getting an update on him soon. They said 2 weeks, I think a little over 2 weeks ago now, so I'm guessing that's maybe going to come in the next couple of days or so. Chauncey did mention that it sounds like he got a PRP injection in his elbow to help with some of that tendonitis, which is a more and more of a common procedure to have done. And then you got Robert Williams III, who's not obviously playing this season, but he's been in town lately. It's nice to see Robert Williams
so excited
again.
to see him. Mm-hmm. I love seeing him.
That big hat he wears, like that wool cap. It's a big hat.
It's cute. It's big, yeah.
It is a nice hat. I like it.
That's my favorite one. Burt Reynolds, or when Norm Macdonald would do Burt Reynolds on Jeopardy. Oversized hat. Wow. So it's funny. It's oversized hat.
Oh, Jared Ferguson. That's right.
That's got to be one of my favorite skits of all time. Just that one. I mean, they did it many times, but every time it was gold. Anyways, so oversized hat. He was chomping on gum. It's funny.
Yep. Yeah, that's Norm Macdonald. Too soon, Norm. Again, a bit tough to kind of know what to make of the team right now, other than the fact that they are injured and they're not playing especially well. Again, in fits and starts, they look like they're doing okay, but pretty tough at this point to feel super positive about what's going on, particularly when you're coming off a game where you just scored 80 points and you missed a whole bunch of 3-pointers. The loss to the Hornets dropped the Blazers, I believe, to the 1, 2, 3, 4. They have the 5th worst record in the NBA right now. Right there with the Hornets too. They're separated from the Hornets by just one loss. Trailblazers are 15-41. The Hornets are 15-42. The Hornets have now, I think, won 5 of their last 6 as well. So at this point, you're starting to look at kind of some of the standings, and it looks more like you're kind of looking to see how far towards the bottom you are, not so much kind of what games you might be able to win. But so, this is the part of the season where I think it probably gets a little tough, both for the team and for the fans. I mean, it's, I think sometimes it's tough as it is anyways. But again, it goes back to that theme we've talked about all season long, where it's like if you're playing well but you're losing, it's not great, but you feel okay about it. But if you're not playing especially well, you're losing, and you have a whole bunch of guys who are out of the lineup. Obviously, right now, you don't have Malcolm, you don't have Scoot, you don't have Shaden. Obviously, that's a huge one. It can be tough sometimes to feel like you're really kind of making progress, or feeling like you're kind of you're going somewhere, you're learning something about this team. And I kind of feel like we're kind of right back in that situation right now. We know that DeAndre's been playing great, and I think you got to keep calling out DeAndre after kind of a kind of up and down start to his season. First couple months, I feel like he's been phenomenal lately. Put up a double-double in the loss to the Charlotte Hornets of, what'd you have there, DeAndre? 26 points, 19 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block in 37 minutes on 11 of 16 shooting. That's a nice night for DeAndre. It's 15 points for Jeremy Grant, who's also been kind of playing well in fits and starts. Anthony kind of struggling right now. 10 points, 4 of 21 from the field, 0 of 8 from 3 for Anthony. So there's some reasons why they've been struggling, but I thought Matisse has been playing well lately, at least defensively. I think Jabari is maybe dealing with a minor injury right now, so he's been kind of in and out of the lineup as well. Basically, they're just kind of trying to find something that works right now, and they don't have a whole lot of leverage to pull because they're missing quite a few guys. I'm not saying the injuries are an excuse at this point. You gotta play better than they're playing right now. The Hornets had a whole lot of guys out with injuries too, and they were able to win that game fairly comfortably. So it's to the point now where I think you feel like, what are we getting done here? And it'd be nice if we get to a point where the team feels like they're kind of making some progress or at least accomplishing something in some of these games. Because right now, particularly when you only score 80 points versus a Hornets team, like I think it kind of gets hard to feel like you're making a whole lot of progress.
I will say, and we've mentioned it probably more than we re-mentioned it a lot last night. It's true, but I mean, I just felt like it needed to be said that, and Chauncey said it too, and Michael Holden, who's our analyst, obviously knows the game and watches games, but that it's a better team than the record. Charlotte, just not making excuses whatsoever, but Charlotte is a better team since the trade deadline.
Absolutely, that's absolutely 100% true. There, that's not even.
And they looked good. Yeah, they look good. They look like they've been playing together longer than they have. But you're right. It's such a bummer. My journalism degrees helped me say that it's such a bummer when DeAndre Ayton is playing like he has. I mean, I hate like he's going out there and doing all these amazing things, and it's not resulting in wins because it's he had I don't want to even say he had a rough start. It wasn't like that. He was just trying to figure it all out. Like just getting kind of accustomed to his team and the last, I don't know how many games since he came back from injury, he's just been so impressive. It's like that. Wow. This is like, you have a center like that, and then you have pieces around it. That could be a very good team. And we just haven't been able to get everything, on the same page at the same time. And I actually, side note, you'll love this. I had dropped a Hassan Whiteside mention last night on the post-game show because I was like, DeAndre almost got a Barbara Walters, and then I had to explain, just in case you're wondering what that means. Hassan Whiteside brought it to my attention that when you get 20 and 20, like 2020, it's Barbara Walters, and that was one of my favorite things ever. So just a little shout out to Hassan Whiteside last night. But DeAndre Ayton has been playing so great and doing a great job of finding his teammates too. And I don't know, he's as Michael would say, he's at ease with his game, and it's just unfortunate that these performances kind of, I don't want to say all for naught because everyone wants to play well and he's doing that, but it just would be nice to, walk into that locker room after one of those nights that he's had and they get to celebrate it, and we haven't been able to. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And I feel for the guys. I don't know what to say about an off night of shooting. Like, you know what I mean? You try to put your finger on it or say, well, it was this, it was that. When shots just aren't going in, I mean, at halftime we said, well, it can't get worse, right? Like shooting wise, I think it was like 24%, 26%. And it did get better. I think it was like 36%. I think total, something like that. So it did improve a little bit, but when shots just aren't falling, you're like, where do you point your finger to? The shots are falling. And I even said that to Michael. I go, I'm not, again, no excuses, but if they shot the ball better tonight, could this have been a win? Because we won points of the paint. Defense, like we talked about Matisse with all of his steals, that was impressive. But if you make half the shots you missed, you win the game. But I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do about missing shots. It's just, I know that you have one of those nights every once in a while. That was rough. It was, I kind of just started feeling bad for him. You know what I mean? Like, because it wasn't, they don't want to miss, they don't want to be missing these shots, but it was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things that bothers me when people's talking about like tanking or whatever. And it's like, look, guys, like no one is going out there trying to lose these games. Like, granted, they don't maybe have the personnel they need right now, but it's like Ant's not going out trying to miss these shots on purpose. Like they want to win, and the players always want to win. And they don't feel good when they lose. So, they're not trying to lose these games. They're just not in a place right now where they're being especially competitive against some of the better teams, and the other night versus the Hornets against some of the not better teams. But you mentioned that too, Brooke. One of the reasons why they were able to stay in that game, even though they shot so poorly, is they dominated the offensive glass in that game. I think they had at one point in time, I looked at second chance points. I think it was 16-2 in Portland's favor. So it was, they're working hard. They're trying to make it happen to that point. Like, knowing that their shots aren't falling, it's like, well, hey, let's make sure we crash the offensive glass.
Yeah.
It's nothing else. We know there's going to be a lot of offensive rebounds because we're not hitting any shots right now. So, and they did a good job with that. And that's something that Chauncey had talked about wanting to be better at was rebounding in the second half of the season, along with playing with more pace on the offensive end as well, which I don't know if we've seen that just yet. Obviously, not having Scoot out there makes that a little more difficult because he is a player that plays that way. But real quick, just to take it back to DeAndre Ayton real fast, in the month of February, DeAndre Ayton averaging 17.9 points on 63% shooting from the field and 100% shooting from the free throw line. He doesn't shoot a whole lot of free throws, but the free throw that he's taken in the month of February, he's made them all. So there's a chance for you, DeAndre.
How many?
Yep.
How many?
11.1 rebounds and 2.4 assists.
No, how many free throws has he made? How much?
Sorry, Brooke, I didn't hear that. He has made 7 free throws in the month of February.
7 of 7.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot a whole lot of them. Like, that would be one thing that'd be nice if DeAndre was able to get the line a bit more. And that was the other thing that in that Hornets game too, like they were not calling any fouls in that game, which I think once both teams kind of start struggling offensively, I think the referees are like, hey, let's take a hands-off approach to this and let these guys figure it out themselves. So, a real nice month for DeAndre, a real nice 2024 for DeAndre as well. If you take it back to February, in the month of January, DeAndre averaged 15.1 points on 56% shooting, 9.6 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and just under a block a game at 32.3 minutes per game. So again, and you're right, Brooke, it wasn't like he struggled so much, but just kind of figuring out kind of how he fit in and what personnel was going to be out there with. DeAndre's looked great as of late. And so I do feel like that is one thing when you're kind of figuring out like, what do we feel like we're getting out of this right now? What do we feel like we're learning about this team? I think you're learning, at least with DeAndre, that like, hey man, this guy, when he's activated and when he's feeling comfortable, like he's a double guy. So so that's been a nice thing to see in this last couple months of the season. But in these in February, at least the last 8 games, you just like to see a result every now and then to kind of keep the spirits up a little bit. Not that the spirits are bad actually in the locker room. Like I feel like guys are generally upbeat, but it'd be nice to have a little success every now and then.
I was just thinking about that when you said it'd be nice if DeAndre could get to the line more. You know what? I feel like, I don't know why, but I just feel this way that when he gets the ball like at the top of the key or a little closer in, he looks for his teammates first. This is just what I'm picturing for the most part. Gets the ball, looks for his teammates. If no one's open, then he'll like, okay, I'll look for my shot. And for some reason, he's more, I want to say open, but it feels as though that place like almost to the free throw line, but not is, I don't know what defenses are doing or seeing, but he usually it's somewhat of an open shot for him and he always drills it. So I'm curious how, I guess if he could maybe just put more post ups to attempt to get more, to draw more fouls, because he's got that's money when he's in the middle of the paint or around that area that, I don't know, that he's just seems to be more open right then. And so it's not like he's going to get fouled there because again, there's not that many bodies around him. So maybe he tries to, drive more. I don't know, but since he's nailing his free throws, you just try to think of, well, how could he work on that? But at the same time, if he's open, he's going to take the shot. He's going to make it. That's all we care about. But if he was trying to attempt to draw more fouls, I guess we like take it down low more. But as long as he keeps getting open in the paint, let him hit those and score 26.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of just mentioned the two reasons why there, Brooke, is because one, he does shoot kind of mid-range jumpers and he's quite good at it, and those are generally shots that teams are somewhat willing to give you. Probably not as much of a guy like DeAndre. They'd rather kind of guards and wings take those shots if they could force you to do that. But so the fact that he is taking kind of a lot of jumpers in the paint, those are generally shots you don't get fouled on. So that's one of the reasons why. And two, I feel like the other reason why is that he makes really quick decisions when he gets the ball in that space. So it's like, it's not even like he's got time to get fouled. Like if he gets the ball there, you're right. Like he kind of
that's true.
Look, and then he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go up with it because this is a shot that I like. So yeah. I think that's part of it as well. And yeah, you don't want a guy to like do things he's uncomfortable with in order to try to draw fouls. I mean, everyone could use more foul shots. And also, too, when you're a big man, too, like particularly when you're a big man like DeAndre, who's kind of like more lithe, kind of athletic, a little quicker, those aren't the guys who generally draw a lot of fouls in the post. Like it's more kind of the bigger guys you got to kind of drape yourself on in order to stop them from doing what they do. DeAndre is not really one of those guys. Again, he does it more with his speed and quickness and athleticism, not so much like with his overwhelming size. So while it would be nice for him to get to the line a bit more, he's also playing great the way that he's playing offense now. So you definitely probably wouldn't want to try to shoehorn that in there a little bit. Just like when people are like, well, I wish Jeremy rebounded more. It's like, yeah, that'd be nice. It would probably be helpful for this team if they had a little more rebounding at that position. But also it's like he's doing a lot of other things that other guys aren't doing, which is like he's responsible for a lot of the scoring loads. So, part of it is at a certain point, would you like everyone to be able to do everything better? Absolutely. Yeah. There's quite a few improvements this team can make in that regard. But, also it's like when a guy is playing well, there's always that like, how much
Yeah.
do you want to change what he's doing to try to get a little bit more versus just being content with what you're getting? And so
Yeah, we're not being nitpicky. We're just thinking, well, if we wanted him to get to the line more, how would he do? But he's doing great. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great.
yeah.
From me, my oh, that's so funny. I've been watching. I was telling you, I get like obsessed with certain. And I don't even watch YouTube. I just get like, I find something on Instagram and I'm like a comedian and I just watch all their stuff. There's this girl and I can't even remember her name right now, but she does, a spot on impression of Kris Jenner, Kardashian's mom.
Sure.
Like she has the glasses on and she has the lash. Like I can't tell you how many I watched last night. Like I'm embarrassed. I've watched everything she's ever done. And I was crying, laughing. And that's what made me think of it. She's like, you're doing great, sweetie. When you're holding the camera out in front of, she's holding in front of Kim Kardashian, doing some sort of modeling shoot way back in the day. And that's been, a saying that's become quite famous. You're doing great, sweetie. That's why I said that to DeAndre. Again, I watched so many of those last night. I have such an affinity and appreciation for comedians. I think that has got to be one of the hardest jobs in the world, to get up on stage and just say, I hope these people think I'm funny. I think I just wanted to give that shout out to the comedians. By the way, I saw Ian Carmel last night. And for the first time in live on set during a segment, people wave, and stuff, and I can see him and I just kind of like do a quick, like little finger, like, hi, if like someone else is talking or I can do that. I was so excited to see Ian Carmel. I was literally live, like talking, and there was a full shot, like a shot of me and Michael. And I was like, hi, Ian, live on TV, because I was like, I was so excited to see Ian. I'm like, sorry, I know that's live, but that's Ian Carmel, so I'm going to say hi.
See, I feel like that. I like that. So when I'm, it's different because it's radio, it's not TV. So, one, it's not as many eyeballs, and two, it's not visual. But like when I'm doing my radio hit pregame, like, and someone says something to me, like I will have a conversation with someone like on air, because I feel like it's probably more interesting than what I'm talking about.
Totally.
It's like, and half the time it is like, for a while there, Matisse kept coming over and tying his shoes in front of me and would like add to the discussion. And I feel like that
People love it.
Right, to me, exactly. It's one of the fun parts of it, is that it kind of goes off the rails a little from time to time, even though it's not off the rails. Which, by the way, too, if you haven't gotten tickets to Ian's show, he's doing 2 shows, I believe, in March at the Wonder Ballroom, I think. Hopefully I'm not messing this up. You might come on the podcast here, actually, next month. Go ahead and get those as well, at least if you haven't used all your money buying Brooke Hearts Your Heart campaign hats.
We're sucking you guys dry this month.
Exactly. It's a shorter month. It's a leap year, a leap February. So, you got an extra day to purchase the Brooke Hearts Your Heart hats as well, which I also know too, that Brooke, you don't have the flap tucked in like we talked about.
No, I'm keeping it out because you told me to.
Yeah, but I think if you always keep it out if you're wearing it in the front, like tennis player style.
Oh, like this? Oh, like that.
Exactly.
I do look like a tennis player.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow, I never thought about that.
That when you have a hat that has the fabric thing and that sticks out a little bit, that makes you look like a European tennis player, in my opinion.
Wow, I feel so. Wow, gosh, you're so right. I never even thought about that. That's exactly what they look like. Okay, cool. Well, I will wear it both ways today, but right now I'm going to do as much that can cover my face as possible.
There you go.
That is that.
Real quick, since you talked about it, you're doing a nice job, sweetie. Kris Murray, getting a couple shots and doing a pretty good job with him. It's been nice to see Kris get out there, and again, a guy who kind of a slow start to the season for Kris. Really kind of didn't get a whole lot of minutes, spent a fair amount of time with the remix. And it seems like he's more and more kind of into the rotation now, and he's been starting the last couple games. And when guys come back from injury, I assume they'll probably go back to the bench. But I'm hopeful for Kris that he's able to maybe at least stay in that rotation, because he's been doing a nice job and kind of making incremental progress. Which again is like, those are the kind of things that I'm interested right now for this team. Is like not like day to day, are they winning, are they losing, how are they shooting? It's more like, are you seeing improvement from some of the players, particularly the young players that the team acquired this season or has acquired recently? And, trying to figure out, like, is this guy going to be a guy we can depend on in seasons going forward? And I feel like at the beginning of the year with Kris, it was kind of like, boy, like, don't know if you necessarily saw it really, but I would say recently, the last month or so, I feel like Kris done a really nice job, and again, it's entered the rotation, and I would hope that guys like Kris are maybe going to get some more opportunities here in this last 2 months of the season to kind of show what they've been working on, particularly guys who've been putting in work in the G League, because you like to see them take the things they work on with the remix and then apply it to the Blazers. And I feel like Kris has been doing a really good job with that, seen him put the ball on the floor a bit more than I think we did initially, which I think is great. Really seems like he knows what he's doing, and that's kind of one of the things things everyone talks about with Kris is that, he's one of those guys where if you kind of tell him what to do, he generally is able to do it on the first or second try, which is always great when you have a young team as the Blazers are. So really nice to see Kris get out there and have some opportunity. And I would hope that that's going to continue on here in these last 25, whatever it is, games of the season, Brooke.
No, yeah, that's so funny. He is that kind of guy that you're doing great. That's so funny. You root for him. And on the broadcast, I think it was the first start he had, so 2 games ago. It was Kevin and Lamar were talking about how coach, and they call him Mr. Perfect because he does everything right. He does, he listens. If he makes a mistake, he will not make it again. Like, he just is wonderful manners. He's just, like, overall just like Mr. Perfect. And then I wanted to get the story about why we didn't get a chance, but just because it happened that day. So Casey, I think you walked by me. So I was standing outside the locker room waiting for Anthony. I think it was Anthony, and waiting. Oh no, it was Delano. Anthony was last game. So it was Delano Banton 2 games ago. So waiting and just chilling. And I'd heard, that Kris was getting the start. I was like, oh, that's cool. That'll be fun. I'm excited for him. And so we're waiting. And a couple minutes before Delano gets there, Kris Murray comes back from warming up and he's walking into the weight room. Right. And he opens the door and I go, Kris. And he turns around and I was thinking, this is me like saying, I'm so excited for you. You're starting. I go, let's go. And he kind of looks at me confused and he goes, oh, and he starts walking towards me thinking I was like, where you been? You're supposed to be my interview. And that's not how it works. Like, you don't just surprise guys like, hey, come do this interview. We go through PR, we plan it the night before. You say, I would like Delano tomorrow. They tell him, and they say, okay, it'll be at this time. But Kris Murray that's the kind of person he turns out, he's like, oh, okay, sorry. Oh yeah, let's do it. I was like, no, I meant, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Let's go. I'm not like, let's go. You're late for the interview. I'm just saying, I'm excited you're starting. But that's just the most Kris Murray thing to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Was I supposed to be here? Are you interviewing me? I'm like, no. I'm like, you're so sweet. That is not at all. I was just trying to like pump you up and tell you I'm excited for you. And I should, how it's so funny. Inflection can change something completely, where rather than not say let's go, I said let's go, and he's like, oh sorry. I'm like, oh gosh, never mind, I was just trying to say I'm excited for you, you're starting. But he's the nicest guy, he just so easy to root for. And I thought he doesn't, like I said, it doesn't make a lot of mistakes, so it doesn't hurt you. And a lot of hustle plays last game from Kris Murray, like down there in the trenches and coming up with the ball. So yeah, he's someone you can definitely root for, and I'm looking forward to seeing the progression of his game as we see him play more minutes.
Yeah, just looking at some of his stats, which, it's up and down, and he's not getting a ton of minutes here and there. So I don't know that I would make too much of any of these stats, except for one stat, which I'm going to mention in a second. Would like to see his 3-point percentage get up a little bit. He's shooting 25% from 3 in the month of February. Kris, a guy who one of his main selling points is being an outside shooter. So like to see those numbers get up. But this number that I think is just more important at this point in time, it's just his minutes per game. So in January, Kris averaging 12.6 minutes per game, and that was only in 6 appearances. In the month of January, he played, I think, in every game, averaging 15.1 minutes per game. And so far in the month of February, 21.0 minutes per game for Kris. So he's steadily seeing those minutes tick up. And again, when you're looking for things to kind of pay attention to, or what are you trying to accomplish this season, getting guys like Kris Murray, guys who, are able to play right now, but who, need some time on the court to get improvement, this is the time for them to get that. And I imagine some of those guys might spend a little more time in the G League. But I figure probably as we get further and further here towards March and April, that maybe those guys who are playing some minutes in the G League will just start playing those minutes for the Blazers. So yet to be seen how they decide to play out the end of the season. I asked Chauncey about that, and I mean, he made it sound like, they were pretty much going to do the things in the second half of the season that they did in the first half of the season. But I would imagine maybe at some point in time, maybe that calculus changes just a little bit to maybe try to get some of these younger guys a few more minutes. Though granted, obviously Dwop at 27 years old playing quite a few minutes as a rookie. Kris, as I just mentioned, already seeing his minutes tick up. Scoot's been injured, so you can't really expect for him to play more minutes. Jabari's been playing. Jabari's kind of minutes have been up and down a little bit. Again, I think maybe he's got a little bit of a knock right now that maybe he's trying to get through. And then you got a guy in Real who, I'm not seeing a whole lot of minutes for the Blazers right now. I think he also has a small injury. I think I think he might have rolled his ankle. I think he's been out for a minute with that too. So again, injuries kind of keeping even the younger guys who might not necessarily help you so much to win games right now, but you would like to see out there on the floor getting opportunities to play. Even those guys are injured right now, so not a great situation to be in for the Blazers. But hopefully, here in the next couple weeks. Maybe they get Malcolm back. Maybe they get Scoot back soon. If that's the case, I think you feel a little bit better about where they're at or what you're going to be doing here in the next 2 months of the season. If not, again, you got to kind of try to find some other things to pay attention to. So
I have two things. Quick weather report. It is now coming down in buckets, snow, and it's sticking. Buckets, I'm telling you. And yes, buckets of snow, and it's sticking. I cannot believe it's not snowing there. And number two, I think we should add a segment to our every show called "You're Doing Great, Sweetie," and we get to pick someone that we think is doing great, sweetie.
Well, the Las Culturistas have a not so fast honey kind of thing too, which is also pretty good. But yeah, no, we could we could do something like that. Yeah, we should do a "You're Doing Great, Sweetie" segment. That would be a good way to
love it.
Some of their propers here, even when the team is struggling a bit.
Let's do it.
And that is going to do it for this edition of the Blazers Balcony, episode 115 of the Blazers Balcony. We will talk to you next week. Trailblazers facing the Miami Heat on Tuesday, then a couple days off before having one of those back-to-backs in Memphis versus the Grizzlies, and one game versus the Timberwolves before coming back home for an extended homestand. Brooke, we already talked Heart Your Heart, but do you have anything else to? Right, the Miami game is the Brooke Hearts Your Heart game. Yes. So if you don't have tickets, buy tickets. And Brooke, how do they put money in the pocket of the Heart Your Heart campaign?
So thank you. So the last day you can. Well, I guess you could tomorrow before the game, but the game is Tuesday, and so you have a short amount of time to go to trailblazers.com/heart. Scroll down to, you'll see buy tickets for the February 27th game, and if you purchase them on that site, it can't be just like normal site. Then you can stay after the game, shoot some free throws on the floor, and then as soon as I'm done with the post-game show, head down and hang out and just kind of say what's up. And I'm very excited. I've heard from a few people that have bought tickets for it, and so whether it's just a handful of us or a whole full basketball team, either one, it'll be fun. And that is a way that you can completely donate to American Heart Association and also get to a game. So it's a twofold thing, and I would love it. So yeah, if you haven't yet, if you're thinking about what you want to do tomorrow night, buy some tickets, come hang out. It should be fun. And everyone that will buy tickets for this is, doing this out of their heart and their care and their thoughtfulness. So it's going to be a group of good people. I can tell you that.
Group of good-hearted people.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if you haven't got tickets go ahead, Brooke.
I just want to say one quick shout out to Jody Allen. Again, $10,000. I said it last time, but I got the chance to thank her in person last night, which was, and then I had to do a hit. So I was like, don't cry. But anyways, we're up to over $16,000. And that is without the inclusion of the 5,000 that the Blazers will match. So we're over 20, which is amazing. We've done that every year. I can't believe it. And then we haven't also added the proceeds from the hat. So
that's not even the hat money.
No.
Oh, I mean, that hat money's got to be huge. So I've been seeing those hats everywhere. So.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping so. It was funny. I went to they're selling them at all the different stores, and there's the big store, Rip City Clothing, and then there's some small little kind of kiosk ones around. And so the one closest to the set, I went to buy some last night. They only had 2, and I felt weird. I was like, well, I don't want to buy. You do not have any. He's like, well, they're at the other places. I was like, okay. He's like, no, it's good. You're selling out. And then people ask and go to another one. I was like, well, I don't want to make it more difficult for people. He's like, just buy the 2 hats. I was like, okay, I've just bought the 2 hats. So I bought them there. And apparently, he said, I'll make sure that they're dispersed. So if you go to the game tomorrow and you don't see one at one of the stores you go to, ask where they are, and they will be at a different store, just somewhere else in the arena. So thank you to everyone who's bought a hat, donated, who's come to the game, anything, who's just stopped by to tell me their story. I appreciate it all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yes, they were at all the stores, at least on Sunday, because I hit up every single one just to make sure. I was also looking for a sweatshirt as well, but they didn't have my size, so I didn't get one. But the Brooke Hearts Your Heart hats are there, so please purchase one. We should have probably given one away or something like that on the show.
I have some.
You should also just buy them. So
that's true. That's true. It's funny. People are like, well, how do I get one? I'm like, well, normally I'd be like, yeah, I'll get you one, but the whole point first of all, everyone I've given one to, I've purchased. I do not get any for free, just so everyone knows. Like, I bought them, walked up physically, bought them again at full price, not with the pass. So the point is to, give to the Heart Association. So there's no really like asking for free ones. That's what defeats the whole purpose. So yes, thank you everyone who's bought one.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us as always. Trailblazers back in action on Tuesday. Brooke Hearts Your Heart game. Check that out if you haven't already. As I mentioned, heading out on the road. We will talk to you. Well, I'm not going on this next road trip, but Brooke is. So Brooke will probably be on the road, and I will be bothering her to get on the podcast. So we will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for joining us as always. It's lovely. Take care of your heart. Give Brooke money. Brooke Olzendam.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And peace out, Kris. Peace out.